Now the upper transverse brace, we've already cleaned this up. We've got a nice gluing surface. Edges are nice and clean. This thing is really ready to cut and pre-shape and glue on. So we are at 13 by 16 1/4 millimeters. I'm going to put this on where those marks are. And I'm looking to get 1/4 to a 1/2 inch or so outside of the guitar edge, the outline that we've got traced on there. And I'm going to cut that. So I'm going to mark that. Okay, now remember, anything really above this sound hole, the sound hole braces and the upper transverse and the popsicle stick brace are going to be glued flat. Now this is all being glued into a radius dish right now, so all I'm doing is kind of sizing things up, doing everything I can beforehand to shape and prepare this to glue. But I don't want to glue anything in this dish. I want this to be flat because that neck, the fretboard rather, is going to come across the top and it's going to be forcing all this pressure on here. We want that fretboard to be glued down as flat as possible. This is an extremely important brace, this upper transverse, because of that downward force, because of the strings. So this brace is critical to keep that upper bout stable underneath the fretboard. So make sure that you are watching the orientation of your grain and making sure that that's vertical on all these braces. Now, one of the things about the upper transverse brace is that we need to get access to the truss rod through this brace. Now that truss rod is going to be coming here, just about on the surface of the top here behind it. We need to get a truss rod wrench through the sound hole through the upper transverse brace, which means that we have to come here, find our center, and drill a 5/8 hole very close to the gluing surface of this brace. So let's do that right now. Okay, now again, I have already planed this earlier, got this to dimension, and planed a really nice glue surface into this. So I'm not going to worry about that now. That's already done. If you haven't done that, make sure that the side that is going down onto the guitar top has a great gluing surface. We want that to be really clean. Yeah, 31 centimeters, so 15.5 is going to put us right here. All right, so I've got my center marked. I need to drill a 5/16 inch hole as close as I can to this bottom edge without actually coming through the edge. I am just going to freehand this. All right, perfect. That is really what I want to see. Really thin at the bottom, straight, even on both sides. That's what we want to get. We may have to ream this out a little bit once the guitar is on, and we have to shave down the popsicle stick brace, but that's pretty good. I have the edges of the guitar marked on here, here and here. Those are about the outline of the guitar. Because this transverse brace is going to go through the kerfing and the sides, again, we want to get down to about 2.5 millimeters right here at the very tip, just like we had for all the other braces that are going through our linings, about 2.5 millimeters. Same on this side. And then once again, we want to keep that nice flowing shape through here. You know, we don't want to come up and just kind of cut this real sharp corner here. We want to come up and bring it back in and return that and have this flow pretty well, because we do not want to expose that sharp end grain and create stresses in there that are going to cause those grains to peel up and separate. I want to have both sides as symmetrical as possible. So for the sake of symmetry, I am just going to give myself a measurement. Let's do about 45 millimeters. So about 45 millimeters from the edge of the guitar that I've marked here to here, that's where I'm going to have this kind of flowing return. And it does have to be flat. Remember, we have to get flat through our sides, which are about 2.5 millimeters, and our kerfing, which is about another 5 millimeters. So I need to stay perfectly flat, at least through there, and then start to return up. All right, mark 45 on this side. Okay, that's pretty symmetrical. Our popsicle stick brace. The plans will show this going almost to the edges of the lining. That's not really necessary. The major function of this brace seems to be helping out the upper transverse brace and intercepting any cracks that might occur on the soundboard itself, either from the fretboard pressing on it or from any stresses in the heel block, which is going to be about right here. It's just not necessary to bring it all the way out to the edges. I'm going to come in from the edge about 50 millimeters. Come in from this edge about 50 millimeters, which is right there. And that's going to be just fine. So there's the upper transverse brace and popsicle stick brace. Now the plans also show that there's a gap between the upper transverse and the popsicle stick brace. I bump it right up against it so they kind of act more in tangent with each other. So we don't want to leave this square corner here to cause stress. So relieve that corner. We want to cut that off and spread our corner out and this edge out actually along these grains. We don't really want to have this edge lined up directly on the grain. Hopefully that makes sense. Now I've got this flat board in here to glue these up. Upper transverse, and we want to line our hole up with the center line of our top. If you can't see it very well, it's okay to throw a pencil line on here if you want to. That looks good. All right, yeah, that's about right. We'll get this glued, throw the popsicle stick brace on behind it, and clamp those up. Now this is a more substantial brace. It's going to take a little bit more glue, but not that much more. And I take my finger and just go right along the edge, scrape a little bit off of the edge, going both ways, just to relieve a little bit of glue there so I don't have quite as much squeeze out. Got the truss rod access hole lined up on the center line. Now, one thing that I have found is that these flat braces tend to skate more than the radius ones. Keep an eye on these things continuously so that we can prevent that. Oh, shop cat. We really want to get this as accurately as we can because we don't want to misalign that truss rod access. That really needs to be spot on. That is exactly where I want it now. I'm going to get this popsicle brace in behind it. Make sure your center line of your popsicle brace is marked. We'll butt it up against there. And you can see from here that it is taller than our hole here. So we are going to have to kind of scrub this out with a file later, but that's okay. part that's going to get pressed up against the upper transverse. Make sure you get a glue line on that as well. There we go. We'll let the glue skin over and then we will scrape it in about 10 minutes. Okay, I am coming back and cleaning up our squeeze out. All right, that is cleaned up. I like the way that looks. When we come in and shape the braces later and we start voicing the top, I'm gonna also just take this hard edge off of there as well, but it's nothing we need to take care of right now. This is gonna glue up for another 30 minutes or so. Then the clamps can come off and we can move on to the bridge plate.